Hi, I'm going to do a video about breast hypoplasia and also insufficient glandular tissue with the hope that those of you who don't suffer from this condition can then be a better support to those who do. If you come across individuals within your families or your friends groups or just anything. And then my bigger reason is to reach those who are struggling with breastfeeding issues or asymmetrical breasts, tubular breasts, those kinds of things, and they're just trying to get more information and just kind of answers for what this condition is and why this has happened, etc. So I have a condition called hypoplastic breasts, and what it means is that one of my breasts, because I have one hypoplastic breast, one breast didn't fully mature when it was developing, and as a result I don't have enough glandular tissue within that breast or enough basically milk duct production centers to be able to fully breastfeed on that one side. I'm fortunate in that I do have a fully matured breast on the other side, which does have a good milk production. But there are women who have both breasts have this condition. They're tubular breasts or just insufficient glands. And then they have a really hard time with breastfeeding and end up being unable to breastfeed. So what does this condition look like? I'm going to post a number of links just down below that will lead to different websites that give information about this condition, as well as one of the links will have pictures of these breasts. But with the hypoplastic breast, you basically have breasts that are significantly different in size. So I have right now I am breastfeeding my youngest son. I have 3 children. My youngest is 10 weeks old, and we are having success this time around with breastfeeding and having milk production continue up to this point on my left side, which is my smaller hypoplastic breast. But anyways, the one side will be significantly larger, like a cup to 2 cups larger in size than the other one. It also, the hypoplastic breast tends to be kind of like a semi-matured breast. So some terms are tubular breast, kind of like a flat breast. Mine, before having children, was really perky, whereas my other one was fuller and, you know, more like what you see on any kind of commercial for bras or bathing suits. I have the one that's not very developed, and then I have the one that is developed. So also with hypoplastic breasts or tubular breasts, you end up having them, often they're spaced further apart from each other than is normal within the quote-unquote natural norm. They don't have the normal fullness. They're more like empty sacs. Also, the nipples for some have swollen tips, or they're just not like a fully developed nipple. In pregnancy and postpartum, often these breasts don't end up ever getting engorged. They don't change in size significantly, etc. So hypoplasia presents itself in puberty. Basically, when I found out that I was different was when my breast started to grow. I had one that was growing faster than the other one, and I didn't really know what that meant. My mom always told me that, oh, everyone's somewhat asymmetrical, and I think she tried to kind of make it not a big issue, even though it clearly was an issue. I ended up getting, when I was 18 years old, a prosthesis for the side that was smaller, just because it was, it just hits your self-esteem when, you know, you're different. So I had a prosthesis for a number of years, and then after getting married, it so didn't affect my husband. He didn't care about the difference in size, and him not caring made me care less about it, and I just realized that it's not a big deal. And so it became something that was just more a concern for physical appearance, became less of a concern physically. But what I didn't realize is that with having children, it would greatly affect my breastfeeding experience. And I had no support. My mother didn't have this condition. None of my sisters had this condition. I haven't known anyone who's had this condition until I came onto the YouTube community and found another mom who has this. And yeah, so there's just so few of us. I think that we do need to kind of be a support to each other. Anyways, so then another question would be, is there anything that you can do to fix breast hypoplasia? And the answer is no. However, there have been some studies that have shown that with additional pregnancies, so depending on the degree of hypoplasia or lack of glandular tissue, essentially, you may have success with subsequent pregnancies in which you have progesterone kind of flooding your body through a pregnancy, that can help mature some of the ducts or the glands in the breast. So for me, this might be kind of all over the place, but for me, I literally, on my nipple of my left breast, could look and see almost where there's a skin that's overlapping a duct, where the duct is just unopened. And I noticed that after my second son. And then this time around, I noticed that I have a couple of more ducts that are producing milk. And it's almost like this pregnancy with my third has opened up some more flow and some more tissue. So clearly, progesterone, which is a hormone that matures the alveoli, which is milk-producing ducts in the breast, that has had an effect, and I've been able to have better success with each subsequent child. So, the implications on breastfeeding of having hypoplastic breasts. Well, the fact of the matter is, if I did not have a fully matured breast, as well as my hypoplastic breast, I would not be able to breastfeed my children. So with my first, I had a huge struggle with breastfeeding for the first 6 weeks. My supply was not enough, not even considering my larger side. And I was told by the pediatrician that I needed to nurse, and after each nursing session, I needed to top up my son with formula and then pump between sessions of nursing and do that, and that eventually my milk supply would catch up. And what ended up happening was within, I don't know how many weeks it was, but it was within a handful of weeks, my left side, which is my hypoplastic breast, even though I continued to breastfeed on that side and pump on that side, it ended up drying up. There was not even any milk that was coming out. And at its max production, I was getting maybe 1 ounce, when my other side would have been engorged. That's how much I would have gotten on my smaller hypoplastic breast side. So just significantly different. So my left side ended up completely drying up, and then I was able to successfully breastfeed my first son for 7 months on my right side, and then I chose to wean him because I just felt very insecure having essentially a huge breastfeeding breast and then my tiny weaned breast. So I had a lot of issues with my personal appearance that I was dealing with. So that was my choice, and that's what I did. My second son came along, and I decided to breastfeed again, and was able to successfully breastfeed him on both sides until about 5 or 6 weeks. And then again, my hypoplastic breast side ended up drying up, and I was unable to successfully breastfeed him on that side, regardless of all of the things that I was doing. And so I then continued to breastfeed him on my right side until he was 10 months old, at which point I hit a wall again, and I started to feel self-conscious and insecure, and so I weaned him. And now I have my third son, and he's 10 weeks old. And funnily enough, my hypoplastic breast side has not weaned itself yet. It is still producing milk. I've actually had the sensation of engorgement a couple of times on that side. Granted, engorgement is, I use that term loosely because I know what engorgement feels like on my right side, and it's not the same. I can feel literally where on a couple of places of the breast there is milk that fills the ducts, and it's hard. But then other sides of that same breast, it's very, very empty. And so literally there's just fewer milk producing ducts. And if I didn't have my right side, it would not be enough to breastfeed my son exclusively. I have been fortunate. I've been able to exclusively breastfeed my son, but it's thanks to having one breast that is fully developed. So I think that if you have breast hypoplasia and you do have one functioning breast, it's absolutely 100% possible for you to breastfeed and for it to go well. This time around, I plan on breastfeeding my son until he chooses to wean himself. I think I know better now that I'll probably hit a wall closer to a year where I'll feel that insecurity start to mount again, you know. So I think I'll be able to weather that a bit better. If you don't have a fully developed breast that is able to produce milk along with breast hypoplasia, there's no failure in using the resources that are out there, whether it's milk banking or whether it's formula feeding your baby. Breastfeeding your baby does not make or break whether or not you're a good mother at all. How you care and love for your baby is what makes you a good mother. And so that's important. But if you are looking for resources in how to stimulate milk production, kind of give yourself the best shot for making this work despite having a condition that makes it difficult to breastfeed, then there are a number of things that you just need to know. Like, knowledge is power. So if you have tubular breasts or breast hypoplasia and you're pregnant, there are a few things that I would suggest that you do. One is talk to your doctor about getting natural progesterone while you're pregnant and see whether or not that will help develop more of your natural glands, and see, you know, if you've got the lines of the milk ducts but they're just not fully formed, that's the thing that might be able to tip the scales to help you have better production. Domperidone and fenugreek are drugs that have been proven to help boost milk supply, milk production. However, again, you can't stress enough that just one... All right, my little man wanted to snuggle mom. So now that he's sleeping, I'll try to finish this. So what I was going to say is, I can't stress enough that none of the pumping or medications to increase supply or breastfeeding them as much as possible, etc., is going to make you have more milk ducts. And so this is the thing. All of the things that actually are completely appropriate advices and things to do if you don't have breast hypoplasia that works for increasing supply, they don't work on a person who just doesn't have the glandular tissue or the milk ducts. But anyways, so if I was counseling someone who wanted to breastfeed, I would say get information about getting a hospital grade pump before you have the baby, and have that on rent and ready for the minute you have that baby at the hospital. I would figure out a plan for how you're going to supplement your baby while you determine whether or not your supply is going to pick up. So, for example, are you going to use formula or are you going to use donor milk? You also then have to determine whether or not you're going to bottle feed or whether you're going to use the synthetic or the SNS setup, where it's essentially a tube that you put around your neck and attached to your nipple, and then the baby is still suckling your nipple and is getting a milk supply. It's just not from you, but there can still be that breastfeeding experience. And then if there's a chance for stimulation of milk production, it can do that until you know what your situation is, whether or not your supply will increase enough or not. I would also suggest that you meet with a lactation consultant and have a support person in place. I would also recommend that you educate those around you. Often you're going to be surrounded by people who have absolutely no idea or comprehension about breast hypoplasia. I was reading on the Lesh League site, which I am going to post the link, that I think it's 1 in every 1,000 women who have this condition. And so it shows it's just not as common. However, it is common enough if there's that many. So there's a lot of women out there who are feeling, I'm sure, very insecure about their about what they're doing wrong or why their body isn't cooperating and functioning the way other women's bodies are functioning. And when they're hearing from everybody that, oh, you just need to try a little harder, or you need to do this or that, and it's not working, it can be really depressing at a time when you're already really susceptible to emotional turmoil about whether or not you're doing a good enough job as a mom and all these things. It's just crazy. I wish there was more support out there for those who are struggling. Yeah, I mentioned fenugreek and domperidone. Basically, I would just get as much information as you can, grab the support from those around you, realize that you can have a successful breastfeeding experience even if you have to top up and supplement. And if you choose to just not top up and supplement or breastfeed, and you just want to exclusively bottle feed or whatever, just love your baby, know that you're doing the best you can, and try to be at peace with that. We already beat ourselves up too much in life, and I think we need to be nicer to ourselves. So if you have any questions about this, I'm going to end this video now because it is getting long. If you have any questions or if you need support, just message me or write a comment and I'll try to get back to you. I just think that there are too many things that we beat ourselves up about, and this doesn't have to be one of them. All right, thanks.